welcome. Welcome to tonight's Fulton County Superior Court Judge Candidate Forum hosted by the South Metro Democratic Women's Council. Members of our council, we are hosting this event during what would be the day and time of our regular general body meeting. For our guests tonight who are not as familiar with us, the purpose and mission of the South Metro Democratic Women's Council is to strengthen all facets of the Democratic Party and women's participation in it, to promote the election of Democratic candidates at all levels, to promote and encourage qualified women to seek public office and to serve on governmental boards and agencies, to promote voting as a critical part of honoring our freedoms granted within our U.S. Constitution and the Georgia Constitution, and to seek robust elections that are issue-based and free from any fraud. To raise the visibility, public awareness, and prestige of the Democratic Party in the state of Georgia. And for those counties with established Democratic women charters, we shall serve as a support group for their efforts and for the efforts of the Georgia Federation of Democratic Women. And finally, to create awareness and facilitate support of our various social issues and programs that are a concern to the women in South Metro and surrounding areas. Again, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And now I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Hattie Portis-Jones.
Good evening and welcome. I've been charged with sharing with you the rules of engagement for this evening. First of all, there will be a bell that is rung to indicate that your time is up. Please listen out for the bell. The moderator will call on each candidate in the order she chooses. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer questions. If a candidate's name is called by another candidate, that candidate shall have the right to a rebuttal. The time for rebuttal is 2 minutes also. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Thank you, Ms. Fisher, for allowing me to share the rules. And now I will ask, are there any questions from the candidates regarding the rules for this evening?
No, thank you.
Okay, no questions. Then I will turn it back to Ms. Fisher, who will introduce our moderator.
Thank you. Our moderator tonight is Ms. Kathleen Adams. Kathy is the Southern Region Director of the National Federation of Democratic Women. She is a committed servant leader and President Emerita of Georgia Federation of Democratic Women, previous chair of Delta Airlines Information Technology Learning and Career Council, a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, East Point College Park Alumni Chapter, where she also served as a member of the executive board. She is also a board member of Atlanta Victim Assistance and a Fulton County Democratic Party proxy holder. Kathy is the recipient of numerous leadership awards, most notably the Poda E. Costin Trailblazer Award for exemplary social action work for the Southern region of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. An information technology learning and development professional, Kathy Adams possesses a dual degree in business management and business marketing. She is a Six Sigma Green Belt and a change management practitioner. She has led transformational activities, new program implementations, and demonstrated strategic, innovative approaches to problem solving. A mother and a grandmother, Kathy is family focused and a member of the Cascade United Methodist Church. She believes in broad-based community engagement. She's passionate about helping others and believes the legislative process is critical to ensuring that citizens experience growth and positive change. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you our very own Kathy Adams.
Greetings, everyone, and thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me this evening, and welcome, welcome, welcome to all of the candidates. Wish you the absolute best, not just this evening, but in your endeavors as you vie for the next judicial seat. So welcome to the Fulton County Superior Court Judges Candidates Forum. This is not a debate. This is a forum. And for our listeners out there, let me educate them on just a little tidbit, because I don't think people understand how many judges we have and what they actually do. But this evening, we have 4 candidates that are seeking to become the next Superior Court judges of Fulton County, filling 2 of the seats. There are currently 20 seats of Superior Court judges in Fulton County. Do you know that Fulton County is the largest county in the state of Georgia, and it's 76 miles long. A lot of people, over 1 million residents in Fulton County. A lot of area to govern. So this evening, we'll share information. We'll have the candidates to share information about themselves as to why they think they are the better candidate for these 2 positions. And what we have is, we have 2 races. In one of the races, we have Judge Paige Whitaker, who is the incumbent, who is Judge Allison Pitts is seeking to become the next Superior Court judge. She is running against Judge Whitaker. In another race, on another ballot, we have the incumbent Judge Charles Eaton, who is in the race with Judge Shalonda Miller. She is seeking to become the next Superior Court judge. And so without further ado, tonight we are going to present to the voters in a fair and nonpartisan setting, information about these candidates, will allow them to share information about themselves to you as to why they are the better candidate. Now I'm going to allow each of the candidates 2 minutes to share information about themselves and their platform. I'm going to introduce the candidates in alphabetical order by last name and by judicial seat, or by the race. So in the first race, we have Judge Charles Eaton, and he's the incumbent, and he's in a race with Shalonda Miller. Judge Eaton, the floor is open.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. And first, I'd like to thank the South Metro Democratic Women's Council for putting this forum on. Yeah, sometimes I feel like the judicial elections don't get enough attention, and it's so important that we focus on them. But as you said, my name is Chuck Eaton, or Charles. I go by both, and I live in Atlanta with my wife, Erica, my 15-year-old daughter who was born at Piedmont, and my 5-year-old daughter who was born at Grady. Prior to being your judge on the Fulton Superior Court, I served as chairman of the Public Service Commission, where I was a commissioner for 15 years. PSC is a statewide office where I was elected in three different elections. In short, I'm accustomed to being accountable to the voters, and it's where I've spent many years developing my judicial temperament. And I learned how to stay calm and firm and informed in some very long, high profile and very contentious litigation. And my colleagues always elected me unanimously as their chairman for that role, which I was honored by, because they knew that I was going to be fair and firm. In addition to running our hearings, I managed a $6 million budget, a 60-employee staff. I testified in front of the General Assembly. I guess you could say I'm a known entity. People often ask, why did I leave my role as the head of a powerful state agency to apply for this judgeship? And my answer always comes down to community. My wife and I were foster parents for many years. And our last child, Lily, who came directly to us from Grady as an infant when she was in DFACS custody, we adopted her a couple years later, and today she's a thriving 5-year-old little girl. And one of my favorite things to do as a judge now is I still perform adoptions, and I still get a little choked
2 minutes.
up.
Thank you.
How much time is we're done?
2 minutes each.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Next, we'll have Judge Shalonda Miller, who is also on the same ballot with Judge Eaton. And again, we're going in alphabetical order by last name. Judge Miller.
Good evening. My name is Shalonda Miller, and I'm running to become your next Fulton County Superior Court Judge because experience matters. Over the course of my 14-year legal career, I've been purposely gathering experiences to allow me to facilitate just and fair results and to make sure that those who come before the court are truly seen and heard. I've served as a judge for more than 3 years, currently serving as a juvenile court judge, and I've served as a magistrate court judge sitting by designation in both state and superior courts. I am intimately familiar with case management, courtroom procedure, and moving cases forward, which is critical, especially in this time of COVID backlog. I've spent 12 years as a practicing trial attorney. I've tried cases before juries, judges, and administrative tribunals. I've also provided advice and counsel to county and municipal governments and small and mid-sized businesses. I began my legal career in private practice, where I represented plaintiffs, employees, and small to mid-sized businesses. My experience actually representing clients, negotiating with lawyers, crafting winning arguments, better informs me as a judge because I understand firsthand how litigants interact with the court and with each other and how to effectively and efficiently manage cases. Prior to going to law school, I was a business consultant for more than 6 years. So I also understand the demands of business litigants, but additionally, operational and procedural processes to make courts more efficient. Finally, I am a mother, a wife, and a dedicated community member, serving my neighbors.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Miller. Next, we'll have Judge Allison Pitts. Judge Pitts.
Good evening. I'm Judge Allison Pitts, and I'm running to be your next Fulton County Superior Court Judge. I currently serve in City of Atlanta Municipal Court, City of East Point Municipal Court, and Fulton County Juvenile Court. I have served now as a judge for 15 years. So I have the experience, I have a proven judicial temperament, and I have been proven to be fair and firm in all the decisions that I've made. Prior to becoming a judge, I served as a criminal defense attorney. And actually, before I became a criminal defense attorney, I worked as a law clerk for one of the Fulton County Superior Court judges. So I was able to see from a judicial standpoint how the court system works. Once I became a criminal defense attorney, I also practiced family law, and I did civil practice as well. These are all types of cases that are heard before this court. I am the only one who has this 15-year experience. I have been entrusted by community leaders, by my peers, to continue to serve in this position. I have developed processes along the way that keep cases moving forward in an efficient manner. I have been known to, again, be fair and firm, and I have served in this position for quite some time. So I am looking to become the next Fulton County Superior Court judge so that I can continue to help create safe communities by balancing the needs of the person as well as the community, and to do what's best for the community that I serve. Again, I am Allison Pitts, and I'm asking to serve as your next Fulton County Superior Court judge.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Judge Pitts. And next we'll have Judge Paige Whitaker. Judge Whitaker.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with y'all. My name is Judge Paige Whitaker. I am your current Fulton County Superior Court judge sitting in this seat. I am a graduate, the first graduate in my family to graduate from college. And I moved to Fulton County, where I have been for the last 30 years, making this my home after I graduated from Duke Law School. I married a Georgia boy and have stayed here ever since then. And the entire time I have been in Fulton County, and my entire legal career has been one of public service. After a few months in private practice while I waited for my bar results, I have been in service to the state and to the county. I was with the state attorney general's office for over a decade, and I was most recently a deputy district attorney in Fulton County. I joined the Fulton County Superior Court bench in 2017. I was elected by the citizens of Fulton County to this position in 2018, and I am running for re-election to this position for what will be my third term right now. And I ask everyone for your support and your vote on May 24th. I am, as I mentioned, the only one who has been elected to be a Fulton Superior Court judge. And the Superior Courts are jury trial courts. We are the highest level trial court in Georgia, and Magistrate Court does not try jury trials. Superior Court does. Juvenile Court does not trial jury trials. So I'm the only person in this race who has 5 years of experience actually presiding over jury trials. That is a very important thing for this county. We have a very busy circuit.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Whitaker.
Thank you.
So now that we've heard the backgrounds and the platforms of each of the candidates, let's go ahead and get started. But I want to remind everyone that our timekeeper will sound the bell indicating that your time is up. If the candidate goes beyond their time limit, they will be muted. So without further ado, let's get started. First question. Fulton County's backlog of records affects many across the county. This problem includes cases whereby charges were dropped. How would you resolve the backlog of records? Judge Whitaker.
Thank you for that question. I actually, of the 20 Superior Court judges, have the second lowest criminal case count of any of the 20 judges. And in 2021, as we were coming out of the pandemic, the average number of criminal cases handled and resolved by the Superior Court judges was 199. In that same year, I was able to resolve 307 criminal cases. So I do not actually have a backlog. I have experience both before and during COVID with efficiently and effectively moving cases, but also handling them with fairness and with compassion to the people. I serve on a statewide COVID task force made up of judges, so I am very familiar with developing and implementing the best practices as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. Judge Pitts, same question.
Yes, thank you. Handling the backlog is a very important task. And when we first went into the pandemic, we immediately jumped into handling cases by Zoom. So in none of the courts that I'm handling cases in, particularly in East Point and City of Atlanta, do we have backlog. What I have done in the past was created a process so that cases can be heard on a timely fashion. And what I will do in this court is something similar in that we need to separate, make sure that continue to separate the non-complex and the complex cases so that cases that can be moved efficiently can do so. And the cases that require a little extra time can have that extra time in order to resolve them in a most efficient manner. I believe that because of the pandemic, we've learned an important lesson, and that is that technology is extremely important. It allows people to appear in court and not create any problems with respect to time. And, people a lot of times say they can't come to court because of work or because they have to be in different places. So allowing the Zoom or whatever other virtual platform we can use has allowed the courts to be much more efficient. And I can plan to continue to use that platform as well and to build upon it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Judge Pitts. Next question. With the increase in teen violence, what are some of your deterrents to mitigate the problem? And that question is actually going to go to Judge Eaton. Unmute your line.
Good.
I'm muted there. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the problem is we're in a really difficult, it's a horrendous cycle. And we've got to address it when they're very young. And one of the things I've done when I've worked with the unions, I have their endorsement. I have the Atlanta and North Georgia Labor Council's endorsement and their 14 affiliates. And I've grown to admire their apprentice programs, their training programs. So we have to provide alternatives and opportunities for younger people. They're not getting the right mentorship. And I'm working with the union on their youth build program to give. I kind of look at it, we have a gang problem as well. And it's either the mentorship of the gang, or can we have the mentorship of a union, or the mentorship of a career? And I grew to admire it because they're training people in skills. And if we can get these younger folks into job training programs, it will send them on a trajectory that will completely change their lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Judge Miller.
Thank you for that question. What we're seeing is the product of a lot of different root causes that we don't necessarily identify and address as appropriate. So for example, mental health issues, unresolved mental health issues, the issues that come with poverty and bouncing from home to home, which impacts education and the ability to stay consistently in school. And those are early childhood trauma. So experiencing trauma in one's life early in age. Those are all root causes of what we're seeing with our young people. And there are opportunities at every stage to address those root causes. And as a juvenile court judge, I have actual firsthand experience implementing programming to address mental health concerns, medication management, therapy, implementing not just job training, but GED programming to help folks finish school, because we know if you finish school, you have a greater earning potential and you feel more committed and dedicated to society. Those are the ways that we are going to combat the issues that we are seeing in our communities with our young people. And it's data proven. It is data proven that if you give individuals tools to address these root causes, job training, educational opportunities, mental health concerns, stable housing, that they are less likely to reoffend and recidivate and less likely to become a part of our prison populations. And so as a community, we have got to focus on our young people and developing and providing resources, tools, and supports to keep them out of the streets and the issues that have them coming before our courts.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Judge Miller. Next question. What is your position on increasing the number of Superior Court judges in Fulton County? And I'm going to ask Judge Eaton.
Well, I'm all in favor of that. We have an incredible case backlog, and it's it's the busiest court in the state. It's the largest county, as was mentioned earlier. And being a fresh face to the court, having come on last August, opposed to Judge Whitaker, who's done a very good job with hers, I inherited the largest backlog. And so we've got an issue. It's very frustrating to me. It's one of the most frustrating things I deal with, as a matter of fact, to routinely have inmates coming over from jail whose cases are 3 and 4 years old. They haven't had a hearing yet. And it's heartbreaking. It's frustrating. We all know the adage, justice delayed is justice denied. And so I think the Fulton Superior Court could certainly use more help and more judges. I would always be in favor of that. I mean, anything we can do to move this backlog along. And we also know, I mean, we've all read about it in the paper. We've heard about the funding. There is a tsunami of indictments coming at us. And all of our case counts are starting to rise a little bit as the indictments are coming out. I mean, this is post-COVID. It's a frustrating time. And I'm not even mentioning the civil aspect of the court. I know there are people, and, we tend to discount that civil aspect. But if it's your business, if it's your home, if it's your livelihood that's involved, it's very frustrating to you that you can't get a hearing and you can't get in front of someone. So I've taken pride in being able to reduce the civil cases, and give prompt decisions after we have these hearings. But yes, I'm in favor of expanding the bench.
Okay, thank you very much for your response. Judge Miller, same question.
Absolutely. And there's definitely an opportunity here as we tackle the COVID backlog for sure. And I don't know if it necessarily means that it has to be expanded the way everyone's thinking. One of the things that is important to me is access to the courts. And having worked with families in the community, I understand that oftentimes it is a limitation, the hours that courts are open, that we're serving the community that we work for. And so expansion can include more judges, but it could also include night hours, weekend hours, so that we can accommodate those individuals who may be working hourly job, who when they take off work, they're not getting paid to be sitting in court, or those folks that have transportation issues. So it takes them a little bit longer to catch a bus and a MARTA to get to court. That is an opportunity for expansion that doesn't require necessarily more courtrooms, because if you start talking about growing the number of judges, you're talking about more courtrooms, more facilities, and more infrastructure. But that is a way that we can expand courts and actually serve justice by granting access to more of the people that we serve in the community.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that response. Next question. Considering the coronavirus pandemic, what are the safety measures or requirements you will put in place in your courtroom? Judge Pitts.
Thank you for that question. I will put in safety measures that are very similar to what we have now. I am a very big proponent. Some say I may be a little OCD, but I believe that we need to continue with the safety measures that are already in place. We need to make sure persons are coming into the courtroom wearing masks. We need to try our best to keep the social distancing in place. And we need to try to make sure that everything is sanitized. I know that there's some financial issue with respect to making sure the courtrooms stay clean, stay furnished. We can also provide the hand sanitizer stations. We can provide the mask, and we can make sure that people are coming into the court, like right now in the courts that I'm going into, particularly in juvenile court and in East Point, we are taking temperatures when we come through the door. And I think that that is a very important thing to make sure that we continue to do. I see no reason why we should change any of the protocols that we have, because thus far it's been keeping us safe. I do have a concern that we've opened up a little bit too soon, which may have caused some of the issues that we have. And that's why I plan on continuing with the safety measures that we already have in place. I myself continue to wear 2 masks. I have sanitizer everywhere I go because I want to be safe for myself and those around me. So I will continue the safety measures that we already have in place and make sure they are enforced in the courtroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Judge Pitts. Same question, Judge Whitaker.
Thank you. In addition to everything that has been mentioned, we have in the Fulton County Superior Court and continued to practice social distancing when we select jury trials. Our civil jury trials, actually the selection is virtual. It is by Zoom. We handle 12 persons at a time, and it's only the next day after we only have 12 total instead of 36 or 48 people to put in a room that we bring them in person. Now with criminal jury trials, it's a little bit of a different situation. So we have 2 very large courtrooms in the old building that we spread the potential jurors out in the big audience so that they continue to be social distanced. everyone is masked, and we bring them the next day back to court again when there are only 12 of them. In my courtroom, I have continued to permit people to appear virtually over Zoom, attorneys, defendants, litigants, victims, if they choose to do that. Everyone stays masked in my courtroom, including when they are talking. I've had some people who assume that when you're talking, you can take your mask off, and that's really when you most need your mask on. So I continue to be masked as long as that is the rule in our courthouse, and everybody in my courtroom does as well. I also, as soon as we went back into court at all, purchased with my own money 5 different air purifiers to have running around the courtroom, my own courtroom, all the time. And we have shields up, and we have hand sanitizer available all the ways.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that response. Next question. What programs can your court provide to local communities to help understand the role of the Superior Court? And I'm going to come right back to Judge Pitts.
What programs can the judges use to help the public understand the roles of a Superior Court judge? That's the question, correct?
Yes.
Well, currently we have, I participate in Gate City's Journey to Judge. That's a start where the children, so typically teens, they can find out exactly the process of becoming a judge. And it helps them to understand, based on our experience, how the court works, how you can become a judge, and what processes occur in the court. I am actually currently creating a video for an elementary school, which I'm going to provide for, I forget the name of the school now, but for the school, so that they can find out exactly what the what the Superior Court judges do. Many people don't realize that the decisions on this bench that are made on this bench affect our everyday lives, even if we don't ever walk into this court. And so I believe everyone needs to know that. And so this video will be on an elementary level so that the average person will be able to understand exactly what the role is of a Superior Court judge. We have other programs that, or I have a thought on other programs that can be utilized, bringing persons into the courtroom when it's safe, and to present sort of a, what do I call it, like a panel discussion, so that they can ask questions, they can understand, and they can participate in the process to learn exactly what judges do. Not just Superior Court judges, but all judges, because many of us do the same thing, which is apply the law to the facts and rule efficiently and fairly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. Judge Whitaker, same question.
Yes, so I have been in grade schools, middle schools, and high schools for things like Career Day. But one thing that I do on a much more intimate level is every year since I have been a Superior Court judge, there is a program that the Atlanta Bar has had in operation for about 30 years. And they choose and vet high school students who are primarily people who are either international immigrants to this country or minorities of some sort, and expose them to judges, to law firms, to legal aid organizations, and place a student to be an intern with wherever they're going to be for the entire year, summer, to not only learn about the law, but really learn about a workplace environment at all, learn about how to be in a professional setting, how to dress professionally, how to go to a business lunch. And I really interact on a very personal level with the high school students in that program. They do training once a week, all together with each other, and it's a very highly successful program. I also have been the chair of the Fulton County Law Day, which reaches out into the entire community each year to demystify, if you will, the law for people. And I am an elected member of the governing board of the State Bar of Georgia, and the State Bar has very many different programs on different levels in order to do that type of thing for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Whitaker. Next question. What are your top 3 concerns for the Superior Court system as it stands now? And what is your proposal for correcting these concerns? Judge Miller.
Thank you for that question. My biggest concern is always access. I believe that in order for due process to really exist, people have to have access to the courts, and that's on a lot of different levels. And so these will be the 3 things. So first, actual ability to interact with the court. I talked a little bit earlier about a way to expand access to be able to get to court. I feel like one thing that we can take from COVID that allows us more access is using virtual opportunities where they are available. So, status conferences, routine matters to allow for access in that way. Then there's access for records and information about a case. Making the Fulton County Superior Court website more user-friendly, easier to use so that folks can navigate their own cases, even if they don't have representation. And we have a great example in Fulton County. The Magistrate Court website is fantastic. It is translated. It has a little chat bot that'll talk to you and tell you things if you don't know where to go. And so we have an example of that. And that is something that can translate. And this is where my IT consulting background comes in. But that's something that we can translate and transfer to the Fulton County bench. And then the third level of access is representation. Not everyone has equal representation. And that is something that we can be honest about. And as judges, we have to be cognizant of when we are interacting with the public. So when we know someone is a self-represented litigant, making sure that we are using words and language that is understandable and relatable, that doesn't pull it out of reach of that person, making sure that we allow our public defenders the time that they need so that they can adequately represent all of the clients that they have.
Time. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Miller. Judge Eaton, same question.
Yes. Well, the first issue I would say is we've touched on it before, is the backlog and the coming tsunami of indictments from COVID. And it's frustrating. And I know you asked how do we plan to address that? Well, first of all, my staff, I have a great staff, and we are hyper focused on creating that pipeline of cases, and we're ranking them in order of age and sort of importance to make sure that we're starting to address these defendants that have been in jail for a number of years. And so that part is frustrating. We'll continue to use Zoom when possible. That's another issue. One of the issues that I have is just I'm only able to bring over 12 inmates a week and 15 in a Zoom booth. That's it. Well, 15 every couple weeks is my schedule. And so it's very hard as far as what you can even schedule to get through this due to COVID. So I will continue to use Zoom whenever I can to get people access. I would say the second point is justice. We have to ensure that people, both victims and defendants, get their justice. We have an issue here in the courts right now. We have a shortage of public defenders. It's going on. We're all aware of it in the economy. There's a shortage in the labor market, and we've got to be more competitive. My public defender, I'm supposed to have 2. I have 1 right now. She's spread very thinly, and here I am trying to get more cases in front of her, and it's just a very stressful situation. And so I don't think people are getting the justice that they need, and I keep coming back to this backlog that's very frustrating to me. And then the third, and I've touched on it. I think we need to be cognizant of opportunities for people that deserve second chances. Last week, I enjoyed having lunch with Gary Davis at Next Level Boys Academy. And I learned about what he's doing. And I'm reaching out to different programs in our community
Thank you.
to try to create
Thank you,
opportunity.
Judge Eaton. Thank you for your response. Next question. With the increase in teen violence, what are some of your deterrents to mitigate the problem? Judge Whitaker.
So that is an issue that is very close to my heart. I don't know if I look like I'm on an iPad right now, but I am, because I'm actually traveling. I am the vice chair of the Georgia Commission on Family Violence, and our entire staff has gotten together for the first time in 2 years for training and team building exercises. So I'm actually away from Fulton County right now. And I think that providing regulation, providing education to stop family violence, intimate partner violence, abuse of all sorts is something that it is critical for us as a society to do. It is something that I have been involved with the entire time I have been on the bench with the Family Violence Commission. And it is something that I was involved with before. When I was a prosecutor, I worked with the legislators on things like solving the rape kit backlog. I worked to develop legislation to protect children who have been abused from having to testify in front of their abusers. I have worked with sex trafficking prevention efforts. I just was at a lunch today where Wellspring, this fantastic community involvement group who is all over the area, has worked to help heal and put back together people who have been victims of sex trafficking. So there are many ways that in the community, as a Superior Court judge, but just as a volunteer, it is important to try to stop violence and to educate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Whitaker. Judge Pitts, same question.
Thank you. Your question asks about deterrence. One of the things that I believe we need to look at is the family upbringing, because a lot of this starts at home. And so we need to figure out what has been occurring in the home that has brought teens to want to commit certain violent acts. I believe that a connection to the community, so knowing what is happening in the community by being connected to the community is a perfect start, because that way we can get into the community as a judge or even as an individual to help determine why teens are committing crimes. Being connected to or coordinating with the law enforcement is another way that I believe that we need to look into helping to stop or helping to quelch some of the teen violence. I know that right now there's some issues in several counties. I believe it's moved from South Fulton to maybe up to the mid area, or maybe even to North Fulton, and that's the slider crimes. That's become a very big issue with respect to teens creating those crimes. We have the water boy issue. So I believe that what we need to do is come together as a community, because it's not going to be just me as an individual and or as a Superior Court judge. It requires everyone to come together to work to figure out what we can do for these teens to keep them from committing either further crimes or even from getting to this point in the first place. So bringing the community together, which would include the individual, the families, law enforcement, and as well as the prosecutor and the criminal defense attorneys, because everyone needs to buy into the opportunity or the idea that we need to work together so that we can keep teens from, one, going into juvenile court, but more importantly, coming into a superior court. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. Next question. State House Bill 94 was signed by the governor in 2021. And it was crimes and offenses and provide for the crime, the theft by possession of stolen mail, provide for the crime of porch piracy. And the question is, what are your views regarding the effects of this bill on teens and young adults? And have you experienced a large number of defendants being prosecuted under House Bill 94? And that would go to Judge Miller.
And I will say we actually have not, not in our juvenile courts. And so while I definitely know it's an issue because I'm active on my neighborhood chats, I see it on the folks' Zoom, or they ring cameras when they're showing them back so we can identify folks. That has not been an issue that has come to court often. But what I will say is when we're talking about deterrence and ways to keep young people from committing such crimes, it is important that we've already discussed the root causes of some of those things. And it is important that we offer alternatives. Getting our kids in school. There are partners, community partners at Promise Center that offers full day actually access for children who are suspended or are not in school full time for whatever reason, but also the Urban League, which does job training. Chuck Eaton mentioned some of the stuff that we do with our youth build so that kids actually get certifications in job skills so that they can be productive members of society. Opportunities to work and be productive are not always as easy or as forthcoming as we think for our young people. And so we've got to be engaged to prevent such things as, stealing folks' mail off of their porch or pulling their doorknobs and taking stuff out of their cars. And there are opportunities all along the way throughout our communities, whether that's through church intervention, whether we're working in our homeless shelters, whether or not we're volunteering in our schools, to provide young people outlets and access to things that they do not normally have access to keep them out of this type of trouble.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that response. Judge Eaton, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
You think I'd figure this out by now, really. I hope you aren't judging me based on
That's okay.
my Zoom abilities. But I'm not familiar at all with House Bill 94. I expect when they said remove mail, that sounds like a federal crime to me if somebody was taking it out of a U.S. post box. But if you're talking about on the off the porches, Superior Court, we generally deal on the criminal side, 7 deadly sins, quite a bit more serious crimes. It would have to be attached to that somehow. But along those lines, we need to, obviously all of the judges here have talked about it. We're in a vicious cycle. And one of the things we have to do with the younger teens is to create opportunities for the ones who want it and show them that there are opportunities and alternatives out there. And I'm just a big proponent of the, like I said before, some of the job training programs done with the union apprenticeships, obviously GEDs and education when that's a route they'd like to choose. Been very impressed with what I've been hearing about the Next Level Boys Academy. It's the bottom line is, the young teens that I have in front of me, unfortunately, they have committed when they've gotten to my level, they have committed they are accused of committing some pretty heinous crimes. But I will say there are quite a few that I still talk to, and I can see it in their eyes that they just haven't had the right mentorship. And, perhaps there are opportunities for second chances.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that response. The next question. Have you ever had to recuse yourself from a case? If so, what were the circumstances? Judge Whitaker.
Yes, I think anybody that's been a judge for any amount of time has probably had some situations where they've had to recuse. So I know that when I first joined the bench, I had come from the district attorney's office. So obviously any case that I had worked on in the DA's office or had any kind of knowledge of in the DA's office, I had to recuse from. And of course, the judge that gets your case then sends you one of their cases. So it kind of works out evenly in the end. Let's see, I have had a couple of situations where because I had a particular, so I'll give you an example. I just recused off of a case that former Chief Justice Harold Melton was one of the lead attorneys on, and former Chief Justice Harold Melton is also one of my campaign chairs. So while we are actively in this contested campaign, I did not think it appropriate to be sitting in a case where he was one of the lawyers, so I recused off of that case. But occasionally things like that come up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Judge Pitts, same question.
Yes, I've practiced now for 27 years. I've served as a judge for more than half of my legal practice. And so there have been occasions where I've had to recuse myself. Typically what I've done is I've made an open announcement of how I've my relationship to whomever is in front of me. And I've actually given each side an opportunity to say whether they wanted me to continue or not. And even in some cases where they have wanted me to continue, I've actually recused myself just because I thought it would be more fair. And if the decision that was made was not in the favor of maybe the person that I did not know, I never wanted anything to come back and say, well, there was a relationship there and that judge should have recused herself. So even in that regard, I have continued to recuse myself from cases where those relationships may be more beneficial or seemingly beneficial to one party or the other. It's hard to say that you will never have an occasion to do so because you've practiced so long and you're bound to make relationships and friendships along the way. But I think it's important that everyone is open and honest about the relationships that they have so that nothing is ever seen as prejudicial or biased when it comes to handling cases as a judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your response. Next question. Fulton County's backlog of records affects many across the county. This problem includes cases whereby charges were dropped. How would you resolve the backlog of records? And this question is for Judge Eaton.
I guess I'd like a little more clarity on that. Are we addressing an issue in the clerk's office, or are we talking about backlog of records? Are we talking about the backlog of the court docket?
My assumption is that it would probably be the backlog of the court docket.
Well, we're discussing and what was the question again? The backlog of
Yes, Fulton County's backlog of records affects many across the county. The problem includes cases whereby charges were dropped. How would you resolve the backlog of records?
We're doing an extensive review of all of our cases, and I'm not sure if we found any open cases. We may have found one very old open case where the charges were dropped. These are people that are out, by the way, they're not in jail. And we closed that case out. But if you're talking about, I'm just trying to think of cases where charges would be dropped. We do have a number of very old cases that people are out right now that I feel they have to be addressed. And I'm willing to bet some of them in the big scheme of things compared to what we deal with day in, day out are somewhat minor charges. I'm willing to bet they don't even realize these cases are open. And that's been an area that's caused me a little bit of a concern because we're trying to get through these and bring these defendants in who their addresses have changed. I'm not sure they're aware that these cases are open. And we'll try to, schedule, say 20 or 30 in a day. And some of them aren't showing up, and there's urging of me to issue bench warrants. And I'm a little apprehensive of that because I don't want to trick anybody into, violating their bond. And so I want to make sure they're given service. But all I can say is it's a major issue in our office, the backlog. We're doing everything we can to especially address some of the very old cases. But I can't, maybe there was one where the charges were dropped, so for some reason it was still on our docket.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your response. Judge Miller, same question.
Thank you. So from a civil perspective, cases that have sat for so long that have no new activity on them can, by operation of law, be dismissed. So there's an opportunity there to review civil dockets and make sure that all those cases have some activity in the past 5 years. And if they don't, get those moving and off the rolls. From a criminal perspective, it's a little more complicated, right? So if you have folks who are detained, there's opportunities there, especially from a judicial perspective, to do hearings to determine why they're detained, if they should remain detained, and if there's some opportunity for bond or other measures, enhanced supervision, ankle monitors, in order to allow those individuals not to remain incarcerated while they're waiting for their due process to happen. And then when you're talking about criminal matters where they're not detained and folks are out in the world and they're still on the rolls, there are opportunities there from a judicial perspective, working with, in the Superior Court's case, with the district attorney. And I know we have a district attorney who is very open to pretrial opportunities to discharge cases. And those cases that can be moved through the process through that pretrial environment certainly should. There's no reason to keep them on the rolls, and those might be, and if someone's out on a bond, those are likely your lower level crimes that would provide that if you complete some of these things that we've been talking about, education, job training, mental health services, that maybe those are things that we can go ahead and move through the process without the need to ever get to trial. And so those are some of the ways that you can deal with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Miller. Next question. How does the Superior Court differ from the Magistrate's Court? How are you planning to serve in a fair and impartial manner? And that question would go to Judge Pitts.
Thank you for the question. One of the biggest differences between the two courts is Superior Court handles felonies and civil cases above a certain amount, 15,000. And so in Magistrate Court, we're hearing lower level cases, and Superior Court, we're handling felonies. We're handling the 7 deadlies that you heard Chuck Eaton mention earlier. We're handling family law cases and civil cases as well. One of the ways that I intend to be fair is that everyone needs to be treated with respect when they come into the courtroom. Everyone needs to have an opportunity to be heard and seen. And what that means is they need the time to present their case, whether it be on their own or whether it be through their attorney. One of the concerns that I have is the access to representation. And I believe that was mentioned earlier too. Some of the times I think the cases have been moving too fast and have been prosecuting too fast, meaning that they have not had the opportunity to prepare for their cases. And so the cases that are handled in Fulton County Superior Court, those cases again are felonies where a person can be sentenced up to more than a year. People usually say it's 12 months and it's actually 1 year or above. Those types of cases are not heard in Magistrate Court. Magistrate Court hears, they do the protective orders as well. And Superior Court handles more of the more of the family law side with respect to divorces, child custody. I'm trying to think of the other case because I've practiced in the family law division for 4.5 years. So we handle very different types of cases in respect to what is heard in Magistrate Court. As far as, again, the fairness, Just an opportunity to let everyone be heard and seen, treat everyone with respect and dignity, and make sure that the judges are looking at the person as an individual, treating everybody as an individual, and looking at things beyond just the facts that come in front of me, things such as the circumstances that brought them to court in the first place. And I believe that gives us the opportunity to really use the discretion that we have when we're making the decisions that will hopefully be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Pitts. Judge Whitaker, same question.
So I think that in addition to what has already been mentioned about the differences between Superior Court and Magistrate Court by my opponent, the main difference, another huge difference, is that Superior Court is a court of record. We handle jury trials, and the judges there preside over jury trials. I have been a civil jury trial judge, a criminal jury trial judge, and a family law jury trial judge. I've had jury trials in all of those different aspects of what Superior Court does. Superior Court also in Fulton County handles all of the appeals from state agency decisions. So we actually sit as an appellate court, if you will, for everything that comes up through the administrative procedure process. We handle all the title to land cases. We handle zoning appeals. We handle, in addition to divorce and custody, paternity, adoptions, everything that is equity, mandamus, injunctions, coming to either ask the court if they can stop something or if they can require something to happen. So there are all kinds of specialized things that Superior Court does that is not anything that is done in Magistrate Court. The way that I will continue to be fair to everyone who comes before me is that I will listen carefully. I will be prepared when I go into court. I will be respectful of the time and of the beliefs of the people appearing before me. I think if you go on my website, which is keepjudgewhitaker.com, you can see testimonials from jurors, from average citizens, from lawyers who have practiced before me, all of whom voluntarily have written to me attesting to my faith.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Whitaker. Next question. Where does one go to report the unethical charges of a judge? Have you ever been accused of being unethical and charges brought against you? That would be for Judge Miller.
All right. We are governed by something called the Judicial Qualification Commission, and any complaints against judges are taken to that commission. And that's the public's opportunity to say if they think something was done unfair. But the standard for that is not just something that you didn't like, or the way a judge ruled. It has to be something more substantive with regard to procedural mismanagement, abuse of discretion, that sort of thing. And I just had my first one. And it was in a case where I did not rule the way a litigant would have preferred. And she reported it to the Judicial Qualification Commission. It was not of substance, but it was definitely something that causes me to be more conscious and make sure that I am ultimately communicating as efficiently as possible to every level, so that folks understand what I am saying and why I'm saying it and why they're getting the outcome they get, so that they don't feel compelled to have to do something like that. Even though it worked out that it wasn't anything of substance, I never want a litigant to leave feeling like they didn't get their due process addressed. And that is very important to me as an ambassador of our justice system, because that is how we engender trust and faith in the system, and in a system that, quite frankly, has lost some of that in our community. So it made it even more important for me to make sure that I'm communicating well with the folks that come before the court.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. Judge Eaton. Same question.
Yeah, there's no point in repeating Judge Miller's definition of the Judicial Qualifications Commission, but I will say one of the things I like about the JQC versus when I was a statewide elected official and under the State Ethics Commission is the JQC, because when you do get frivolous complaints, they review the complaint first, and they have a process before that's released to the public to determine whether it's frivolous or not. So on the issue of transparency, I'll discuss when I was when I was under the State Ethics Commission. It's sort of a tactic that campaigns use against you when you're running, but inevitably a couple of weeks before the election, there'll be a ethics complaint filed against you. And that immediately becomes public and it goes out into the newspapers. And I had one filed against me for what really was a technicality and most of what I thought they had wrong on the law. I remember calling up one of the reporters. I'm like, are you kidding me? This thing is completely made up and trumped up just to have some kind of bad news before my election. And, of course, they get sanctimonious when, we have a right to print this. And then 6 months later, the Ethics Commission tosses the complaint out well after the election. And so I do appreciate the way that the JQC handles it versus being under the Judicial Ethics Commission, where it's really, unfortunately, come campaign season, it's becoming a tool of elections, sort of an attack tool that the various campaigns use on each other.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Eaton. So next we have a question that has come in from one of our online guests. And it is, he would like to hear from each of the candidates, your involvement in the Atlanta community as far as the judicial process and the handling of cases goes. And I'm going to start with Judge Pitts.
I'm sorry, you said, what was the question again?
I would like to hear from the candidates their involvement in the Atlanta community with regards to the judicial process and the handling of cases.
I'm not really sure I understand the question. However, my involvement in the community is vast through my church, through my sorority, through other civic organizations that I belong to. I currently sit on the board of Carrie Still Pitts. I'm a member of the Metro Atlanta Lions Club, and I'm a member of the South Fulton Running Partners. Now, many of you may not think that's a organization where the law may come into play, but our main goal is dealing with sickle cell. And so within the community, when it comes to the judicial process, I also mentioned earlier about Journey to Judge. One of the things that I've mentioned about Journey to Judge is that we present that to teens so that they can understand the process of becoming a judge. In addition, I have created forums where we've brought the community together with law enforcement, as well as attorneys and other people within the community so that we can educate them about interaction with the police and how to respond in that regard. The other thing I mentioned is the video that I'm creating for the elementary school that gives them a firsthand knowledge about what judges do. And someone mentioned earlier about how things need to be on a very elementary level so that everyone can understand. And that is one of the biggest things that I've always done is I say that I don't speak legalese because I don't assume anyone's level of education. And I think it's important that whatever is done in court, be it by an attorney, be it by a judge, that the average person is able to understand exactly what is happening so that there are no questions in the end. I think that keeps us from having any repercussions with respect to decisions that are made and or with respect to understanding of exactly what has happened in the court process. So when it comes to the Atlanta community and the legal and the judicial process, I am very committed and very connected to make sure that whatever I present is presented in a professional fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Whitaker, same question.
Thank you. I mentioned before that I'm on the Chief Justice's statewide COVID task force. I also have been a member of the Judicial Council of Georgia's Criminal Justice Reform Committee. I am on the Superior Council of Superior Court Judges Legislative Committee, Rules Committee, Bench and Bar Committee, Jury Charge Committee, Pattern Jury Rewrite Committee. On my Fulton Superior Court bench, I am elected by my peers to be on our Executive Committee, and I was also on our COVID Jury Trial Planning Committee for that. I mentioned that I am Vice Chair of the Georgia Commission on Family Violence. And I had mentioned that I'm a member of the elected Board of Governors for the State Bar. I serve on numerous committees on the State Bar of Georgia. I'm an adjunct professor of law at Mercer Law School. I coach and judge mock trial and moot court competitions at the high school, college, and law school levels. I have taught at Emory Law School before. I am a member of Bleckley and Weltner Inns of Courts. I'm on the Atlanta Bar Committee Association Judicial Chair. I've been on their family law, litigation, public interest law, criminal law, appellate law, women in the practice. I'm on the Executive Committee of the Lawyers Club of Atlanta, on many committees with the Georgia Association of Women Lawyers and have been through their leadership program. The Stonewall Bar Association, which is an LGBTQ bar association. I'd also like to mention that I have been endorsed by Georgia Equality, the Gate City Bar Association, St. Thomas More Society. I am a sustainer with the Junior League of Atlanta. I am on my Neighborhoods Foundation. I'm active in my church. I serve as the ambassador to a group of breast cancer survivors. I have been on a Fulton County Juvenile Court Citizen Review Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Whitaker. The same question, Judge Eaton.
Oh, thank you. I've been involved in our community and making meaningful contributions to it for a long time. My wife and I fostered DFACS infants for a number of years, and we saw firsthand the impact addiction, human trafficking, and other criminal conduct can have, because especially female foster children have an exponentially higher rate to be put into human trafficking. So that caused me, when I used to work up on the Hill, it caused me to work with Sinead Utterman on the constitutional amendment to set up the Safe Harbor Commission on Human Trafficking. And once we were able to get that on the ballot, I raised on my own $20,000 to help get it passed with the voters. And all of this has enlarged my understanding of the role the courts can play, and it's going to affect me for the rest of my life. I've seen how addiction, I've seen mental health challenges, I've seen how all this can destroy futures and families. And in the courtroom, it has given me firsthand knowledge and empathy as to how criminal behavior affects families and more specifically the children. When someone's arrested for criminal activity, it impacts not only their lives and their futures, but the lives of their victims, the victims' families, and their own families. A guilty verdict that happens all the time can have far-reaching impacts on children. I hear about it that, gosh, if he's found guilty, it's going to include termination of parental rights and potential placement of the child in DFACS custody. So I understand that, and it's allowed me to have more empathy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Judge Miller, same question.
Yes, well, the practice of law is a service practice. We are here to serve clients and our communities. As members of the judiciary, we are ambassadors of justice. So everything that we do in the community reflects the justice system. And I take that very personally and I take it to heart. And so when I'm out in the community, I'm always trying to represent our service industry to the very highest standard. And so that's whether I'm a long-term volunteer at the Nicholas House, which is the only shelter in the metro area that accommodates families in whatever composition they're in. So whether it's a father and a daughter, a husband and wife, and 6 children, they accommodate those families so that in that moment of one of the most difficult times those families are able to stay together. And so I serve at Nicholas House because it is important to me to support those families and their ability to reintegrate into society together as a unit. So whether I'm serving there, washing toilets, or serving dinner, or cleaning up the yard, I'm always doing it with respect for the folks I encounter, and humbleness and understanding for the circumstances that they find themselves in. I also volunteer regularly with my children's school, and in fact, put on a trial for my daughter's third grade class, so that they could get some interaction with it. And I put my robe on and everything with a judge to kind of understand how the process works. And I believe it is absolutely imperative that young people be able to interact with judges where they are in their communities before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Miller. Thank you. Next question, and this is also a question that has come from our online audience. With the recent impaneled grand jury on the political matter involving the prior general election, will any of the judges here have to recuse themselves from the issues that may be assigned to them because they were perceived or the possible connections to any parties in that case? That would be Judge Whitaker.
Not that I know of. I mean, who knows what's going to come out of that grand jury investigation. So, not that I know of. That's really as much as I can say.
Judge Pitts?
Well, as of now, for myself, I would say no. However, when you consider the fact that judges have been appointed by governor, there's a connection to things that come through the Fulton County Superior Court. Currently, like you said, we have the special impaneled grand jury that may bring an indictment regarding the elections results. And so those cases are going to be heard, or that case, by a Superior Court judge. So there's a perception that there could be some bias when you are considering the fact that you were appointed by a governor versus being elected from the beginning. So I think that, if I were in that position, then yes, I would have to recuse myself, because there is a perception of bias, or there is a perception that I would need to recuse myself.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Pitts. Judge Eaton, same question.
I may want to recuse myself from it. I don't know. That's a joke. But I honestly, I don't think it's appropriate to start talking about recusals on pending matters that are going to be in front of us. If they choose to move forward with the case and it ends up on one of our desks, and then that desk happens to be mine, then I'll have to look at the circumstances, what's involved in it, and I'll make that determination at that point as to whether I need to recuse myself.
Thank you. Judge Miller, same question.
No, there's no reason that I need to recuse from any case at this point.
Okay. Next question. I'm going to circle back, and I've been doing that, so as you've noticed, and I'm just trying to mix the questions up. But I'm going to go back to House Bill 94. It was signed by the governor in 2021. It was crimes and offenses, and it reads that provides for the crime by theft, the crime of theft by possession of stolen mail, provide for the crime of porch piracy. And the question is, what are your views regarding the effects of the bill on teens and young adults? And have you experienced a large number of defendants being prosecuted under House Bill 94? Judge Whitaker.
I remember hearing about the porch piracy bill, and as I recall, it was basically that people were getting kind of their, Amazon packages stolen off of their porches back when everybody was in their homes and ordering everything off of line before we had gone back into the community. That is not something that I have had come before me a single solitary time.
Okay. Thank you. Judge Pitts, same question.
No, I'm aware of the bill. I don't know the specific details of the bill, but I'm very much aware. However, I have not had any of those cases come before me as of yet. I presume, since that's a relatively new law, that those cases may start coming forth before long. And maybe by the time I'm serving as the Superior Court judge, I will have an occasion to hear one of those cases. But as of yet, there has not been an opportunity to do so.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that response. Next question. What programs can your court provide to the local communities to help them understand the role of the Superior Court? Judge Whitaker. I'm sorry. I've already asked you that question. I'm sorry.
Not a problem.
I'm going to present that question to Judge Eaton. Judge Eaton, you haven't had that question.
Yes. I would like to get involved. I guess if they were older kids, I'd want to just, have them sign a non-compete so they wouldn't run against me. But all joking aside, reaching out to the community and educating them on our court system, educating everyone, but especially young people about our courts is very important. It helps people understand what their rights are. It helps them understand that they have access, that, that no matter, that's one thing that's just so unique about the United States of America, that people can be heard, they can come, they have their rights, they can appear in front of a judge and get a decision. As far as the programs, I plan on, like I said, I just had lunch with them last week, but I do plan on coming by Next Level Boys Academy, and I'd love to have some seminars there, educate these young men as to the courts, and also, what it's like to be a lawyer, what it's like to choose that career path, what sort of options are available with a law degree, and if they so choose to rise to become a judge, how they could go about doing that. As I said before, I constantly I'm reaching out to folks in the community, and I try to be. I think one of the more important aspects of being a judge is humility, and I try to be extremely approachable when I'm out in the community, and I just whether it's children or adults, I just enjoy educating people on my job and letting them know how much I enjoy it. It's the thing about serving on a superior court is it's exciting.
Thank you.
You never know what's going to come through that door.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Eaton. Same question, Judge Miller.
So I was mentioning about conducting the trial with my daughter's class. And so it is important that we have those introductory levels to our system and how it works. And I am currently the president of the Georgia Association of Women Lawyers Foundation, which is our philanthropic arm of the foundation. And every year we work with Girl Scouts so they can get their law badge. And that is an opportunity for lawyers, law students to get together, and judges to get together so that our young Girl Scouts, our young women, the future of our profession, have the opportunity to explore it at a more intimate level with folks who are going at different levels in their careers. They put on a trial. And so that is something that I do every year as an opportunity to help educate our young folks who will be leading us in the future. And then there's also mentoring. Young people need steady, consistent mentoring. And that starts as early as high school. And it's not necessarily specifically to educate them about what it means to become a judge, but to be an example of what a good and decent human looks like. And I also practice the law. I'm also a judge. And these are opportunities that are open and available to you. So I mentor at all levels. I have a undergraduate mentor. I have several law student mentors, and then young attorneys, so that as they are developing and growing, they are able to get guidance and support and learn more about how our system works, and ideally how it works with respect for all people and understanding of everyone that comes before the court.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Judge Miller. So there you have it. You've heard this evening, our listening audience has heard from each of our candidates. They're running for a judge's seat in the largest county in the state, and they want to be one of those 20 judges in Fulton County Superior Court. And now we're going to give them an opportunity to give you a closing statement, to tell them how, or to tell you how they can be reached, a little bit more about their platform, how you can get involved, how you can donate money, or what have you. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to go again in alphabetical order by last name. Judge Eaton, closing statement, and you have each of the judges has 2 minutes for their closing statement.
Okay. Well, listen, this has been quite the pleasure and a very informative event, and I'm very impressed by all the questions. You can reach me on my website at Judge Eaton, learn a little bit more about myself and my background. And certainly if you'd like to contribute or get a yard sign, there's availability on there as well. I'd like to earn your vote to continue serving as a judge on the Fulton Superior Court for a few reasons. Protecting the vulnerable doesn't always mean locking up criminals. Sometimes it means extending options. And I'm a fan of accountability courts, drug programs, and job training. We've talked about this, and I've worked with the unions for a long time. And when I was at the PSC, I became a big fan of their apprentice programs. So, making the community safer doesn't always mean having an infinite prison population. And you've also heard us talk about, we're coming out of a very difficult moment in our nation's history with the pandemic. And, my courtroom is addressing a very large backlog, a load of cases. And I truly believe now is not the time to make that change as we're moving forward. I believe the most important characteristic of a judge is humility. I've mentioned this before. You need to be empathetic to every single person who steps inside your courtroom, because there's a good chance you'll be changing someone's life forever with your decision. My wife has been the victim of a couple of crimes over the last 4 years. So we are frustrated as our entire community. And as your Superior Court judge, I'll go to work focusing on protecting every neighborhood in Fulton County. And I will never forget about the most vulnerable in our society. So thank you again. And I ask for your vote on May 24th.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Judge Eaton. Next, we're going to hear from Judge Miller. 2 minutes closing statement, please.
Thank you for this opportunity. You've heard the broad array of issues that come before the Fulton County Superior Court. This is not a job that you learn on the job. This is a job where experience matters. And it matters that I've practiced as a trial attorney. It matters that I've served in our community, serving the folks who need it the most. It matters that I have been a judge for more than 3 years. I've managed caseloads, I've moved cases forward, and I know what that takes. It matters that I have the operational and business skills to address backlogs, to efficiently move cases forward, and I have actual ideas on how to make that happen. I am a mom, I'm a wife, and it is important to me that we have safe and thriving communities. And that can be accomplished while supporting our young people and families and offering opportunities to rehabilitate, to educate, to get mental health in order. And so I'm asking for your vote for Shalonda Miller for Fulton County Superior Court Judge, because experience does matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Miller. Next, we'll hear from Judge Pitts. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Good evening again. I am running based on my experience, my fairness, my commitment to equal justice, and my efficiency. You want a judge who is connected and committed to the community and who will be accountable to the persons who elect her to serve in this position. You want a judge who will not allow fear or favor to influence any decisions that she makes, and one who will make fair and just decisions. You want a judge who will bring balance to the bench based on her experience in life, practice, and as a judge. I'm the only judge who has 15 years of experience serving as a judge and who have been entrusted by my peers to do so and to make these fair and just decisions. You want a judge who will treat everyone with dignity and respect regardless of their background. You want a judge who will treat everyone as an individual and consider the circumstances surrounding the situation to make a fair and just decision and allow them to be heard and seen by listening closely. And that gives you an opportunity to use my discretion to make a decision that's best for that individual. You also want a judge who will work towards safer communities by balancing the needs of the individual as well as the community. You want a judge who is connected through community service, through her actions through the church, through the community, and through and just connected to the community. So I know what the issues are within the community so that we can address them, so that I can address them. You want a judge who will give second chances where second chances are due. And finally, you want a judge who will put people and the law before politics. I am that judge. I'm experienced, I'm efficient, I am fair, and I'm committed to equal justice. You can view my website at electjudgeallisonpitts.com.
Thank you very much, Judge Pitts. Thank you. Judge Whitaker, you have 2 minutes to close.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for your attention and for this time to talk a little bit about myself in this important job of being a Fulton Superior Court judge. Again, my name is Judge Paige Whitaker. I am the only judge elected as a Fulton County Superior Court judge. My website is keepjudgewhitaker.com. And that is exactly what I would ask for you to do, is to vote to re-elect me to continue to serve as your Fulton Superior Court judge. Take a look at my website, but don't just trust what I say. Trust the people who trust me to continue in this job. The people who know this job, like former Chief Justice Harold Melton, and also former Chief Justice Leah Ward Sears, our first female Georgia Supreme Court Justice and the first African-American female Georgia Supreme Court Justice to serve on any state Supreme Court, have both endorsed me, have other Georgia Supreme Court justices. The people who appear before judges trust me to continue in this job. Lawyers like Allegra Lawrence Hardy, like Gabe Banks, like Adam Malone, like Joyce Gist Lewis, and literally hundreds of other lawyers are supporting me to be reelected to this position. People who have served Fulton County trust me to continue in this job. Former Fulton Superior Court Judge Bill Hill, former Superior Court Judge and Deputy District Attorney Betty Ann Hart both serve on my reelection committee. And people who have served Georgia trust me to continue to serve in this position. Former Governor Roy Barnes has endorsed me and is another of my campaign chairs. People like Jason Carter, people like Councilman Michael Bond, and literally dozens of other officials on both sides of the aisle have endorsed me to continue as a full Superior Court judge.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Whitaker. And thank you to all of the candidates for participating in this evening's forum. We heard everything that you had to say. We're going to leave it up to the voters now, to the constituents of Fulton County. And to all of our listeners and the viewers, the viewing audience, you've just heard from 4 qualified candidates who are vying to serve as your next Superior Court judge in Fulton County. Now, while we have these 4 candidates, they're running for 2 different seats. So they were 2 of the 20 seats are up for election. The next elected judge will serve a 4-year term, which begins on January 1st of 2023, and it ends December 31st of 2026. So understand the time frame that they will serve. Their future lies in your hands. And as a constituent and a voter of Fulton County, it is our hope that you will use your vote as your voice to elect fair representation for Fulton County. And following are some very important dates that I want to share with you. The initial mail out of absentee ballots began on April 25th. Voter registration deadlines, well, the deadline was April 25th. Early voting, it begins on Monday, May 2nd. Absentee ballot application deadline, it's May 13th. And the last day of early voting and the last day to access absentee ballot drop boxes is May 20th. Remember, election day is May 24th, and there is no primary election for these candidates. Judges don't have that opportunity in their race. Election day, May 24th, is election day, May 24th. And so in closing, I leave you with this. Be an educated and informed voter. Know before you go. Know who is on the ballot. Know what is on the ballot. Know when to vote. And know where to vote. More so than anything, please exercise your right to vote. And now I'm going to turn the forum back over to the president of the chapter, to Gloria Jenkins. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening again to everyone on this panel. My apologies for my technology gaffe earlier, but we have survived and we will continue to survive. I want to say a special thank you to our candidates this evening. I really was able to sit back, relax, and hear your responses. And I hope everybody else that's tuned in this evening has a better understanding of what judges do, what lawyers do, and what we can expect from our next Superior Court judges. I have a few announcements. Number one, as Kathy mentioned, early voting starts May 2nd, and that's next week. And for early voting, the polls are only open from 9 to 6. So don't try to go on your way to work or on your way home if you work from 9 to 6, because you won't be able to vote in person. I want everybody listening to go on the Secretary of State's website. It has changed drastically. One of the changes, some people are getting one thing when you click on that sample ballot. The Democratic candidates are coming up as nonpartisan, and on some other sites or check-ins, it's coming up under Democrats. So check that, print it out if it is the correct one, and share with everyone you know the correct ballot. It's a little harder now to get to my voter page. And when you get on my voter page, you cannot automatically pull up your voter card. There's some time lapse in there, and today I was not able to ever pull up the voter card, the registration card. The next thing I want to remind everybody of, especially any seniors who are watching. Seniors are the largest voting bloc of voters in America. Seniors, we need to take charge. We need to be sure that everybody in our family gets to the poll. And if they don't want to go in person, make sure they get that absentee ballot. And if you have family members or friends who are in nursing homes or who are in senior retirement communities, they need to vote and they want to vote. So please reach out to them so that we can handle our business come May 24th and starting on May 2nd. Again, thank you so very much for participating, and we enjoyed you. Have a good evening.